You've been thinking about selling your home? Now you start Googling or talking to AI like any consumer would. Riverside County prices are up 3%. And the next headline says sales have dropped 14% in the last month. So which is it? You're just trying to decipher where the market stands and which headline you believe is about a $16,000 decision. I'm Chris Leeper with eXp Realty, and today we are going to touch on where the real estate market stands for sellers right now. So here's where the confusion is coming from. The California Association of Realtors just put out the July numbers for Riverside County. The median price is clocking at $649,000, up 3% from last year. That's headline number one. Prices are up, great time to sell. But wait, same report, same county, sales dropped almost 14% from June to July in just 1 month. That's headline number two. And that one sounds like it's maybe not such a great time to sell. Both of those came out of the same document on the same afternoon. So if you're trying to decide whether to list and you feel like the market is talking out of both sides of its mouth, you're not imagining that. Let me tell you what's actually underneath it all. Here's the part that surprised me most. You'd assume the problem is too many houses, right? Everybody listed at once, and so you'd be walking into a crowd. Would it surprise you to hear that Riverside County actually has fewer homes for sale than it did last July? So it's not a supply problem, it's a demand problem. And that matters for your decision because those two things point in completely opposite directions. If it's too many houses, waiting can work and the crowd thins out. But if it's just not enough buyers, waiting doesn't fix anything. You just get started later. Now here's a third number that'll tell you what you'd actually be walking into. Redfin ran buyers versus sellers by metro. In the Riverside Metro, that's Riverside and San Bernardino counties, is sitting at about 62% more sellers than buyers. It's the widest gap in all of California. That's the flip from a few years ago. Buyers used to compete against each other for houses. Now houses compete for buyers, and a lot of sellers are still pricing like it's the other way around. So yeah, the market's up 3%. That's a real number. You just can't price a house off of it. Okay, so let's say you decide to go for it. Realtor.com looked at listings nationwide going back to 2021. Homes that went under contract after about 4 weeks on the market sold for about 1.8% more relative to list price, while homes still sitting after about 18 weeks closed about 1.3% under. That's about a 3-point spread. And on a median Moreno Valley home at $550,000, that's about a $16,000 difference. And in that same research, price reductions peak at week 6th, which means if you go into this without a real plan for the first month, the decision kind of gets made for you before you realize anything's wrong. That's the whole argument for getting your price right on day one instead of correcting it later, because by the time you're correcting, the leverage window has already closed. And now a quick thing on rates, since it's usually the thing people are waiting on the most. The 30-year fixed is at 6.67%. A year ago, it was at 6.58%. Not a huge difference in 12 months. So if your plan is to wait for rates, understand what you're waiting for. And honestly, steady is worth something in today's market. It's the whiplash that freezes people, not the number itself. And now I'll say the thing I'm probably not supposed to say. It's the honest version, and it applies to more of you than I'd like. If you don't have to move, waiting costs you less than it used to. Rates are flat. Affordability in Riverside County actually got better this year, and inventory's down. None of that is punishing you for sitting tight. The people who should list right now are the ones with an actual reason, a job, a growing family, a house that just doesn't fit anymore, equity that needs to go somewhere else. If the only reason to sell is a feeling that you should do something, the numbers don't back that up. But the bottom line is that the county numbers aren't wrong. It's just how you look at it and if it makes sense for your specific situation. If you'd like to know what the market is willing to pay for your property, hit me up. And as always, I broke all of this down in more detail with every source linked on my blog. I'm Chris Leeper, your trusted realtor in the Inland Empire. We'll catch you on the next one.